You are live.
Great, thank you. Welcome, everyone. This is November 6th, the last in-person meeting for the Building Energy Code Working Group. It is November 6th, 2025. I'm Representative Scott Campbell, and we will quickly go around the room and have people introduce themselves. So I guess we'll go this way, Keith.
Keith Levinson, Department of Public Service.
Mike DeRocher, Director of Fire Safety.
Kelly Lander, Department of Public Service, and I have an additional request. If someone is going to be voting on behalf of a member, when they introduce themselves, they could, that would. Thank you.
And Landon Wheeler, the Deputy Director of the Division of Fire Safety.
Richard.
Richard Wabi, the Associated General Contractors of Vermont.
Steve Spatz, Efficiency Vermont.
Hi, Peter Tucker, Vermont Association of Realtors.
John Bursey, AIA Vermont.
And other folks in the room.
Andrew Brewer on behalf of the builders and AIA, not a member of the builders.
Sandy.
Sandy Ditstu on behalf of BBRA and AIA Vermont, not anticipated.
All right, I'm going to go around the room online. So people aren't waiting. Craig, you're not up next.
Craig Pelletier, Vermont Housing and Conservation Board.
Ted, welcome.
Ed Brady, the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, and I'll be voting for Samantha Shaheen today.
Seth.
Seth Baumgartz, I represent Bennington County and 4 Wyndham towns in the state senate.
Jim.
Jim Bradley, on behalf of Vermont Builders and Remodelers Association.
And
Janda, representing VAPTA. I'll be voting on behalf of Chris Campany.
Okay, terrific. Colin
Frisbee from Sterling Homes, member of the public and representative for home builders.
Okay, thank you. Jennifer.
Jen Colin, Office of Professional Regulation.
Let's see, we have here. Jeremy Little.
Jeremy Little with the Vermont Chamber of Commerce, just here as a member of the public.
Okay, great. Nathaniel Eisen.
Hi, Nathaniel Eisen. I'm a freelance journalist. I've been tracking these issues.
Perfect, thank you. Chris Burns.
Chris Burns, Burlington Electric Department.
Jason, welcome.
Jason Webster, Huntington Homes, Home Builders.
Carly McGovern.
Hi, Carly McGovern. I'm just attending and taking notes on behalf of the Northeast Energy Efficiency Partnerships.
Okay, great. Zach.
Hello, Zach Tyler, Energy Futures Group, member of the public.
Okay. Let's see. I think Barry Murphy's the last one.
Yeah, Barry Murphy with the Public Service Department. I'm just here to answer any random questions that may come up in my area of expertise.
Great. Thank you, Barry. All right. Next, we will have approval and discussion of the meeting minutes from October 23rd. Entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion. Richard Wabi.
Richard Wabi. Do you need a second for that?
No, I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The agenda is pretty much just going over the proposed recommendations or possible recommendations that we would put into the report. Anybody have any amendments or comments on the agenda? Okay, hearing none, we will go on. So I think what we will do here, since a lot of these items could generate some conversation, I think we will just dive right into it. Everyone received the worksheet for this meeting? You had a chance to look at that? Anybody did not? All right, well, why don't we start then? And I guess I should add that I started preparing this as an effort to come to some resolution on specific points that we can include in the report. The first set of items here under number one are items that we discussed and I included in a memo that I sent out prior to the September meeting. And we have had some feedback and discussion on those items. And the wording of the recommendations, of the proposed recommendations, is somewhat adjusted from the way it was originally worded based on the conversation and discussion during the September and October meetings. The next set of recommendations or possible recommendations, number two, are items that we discussed that were discussed in meetings but weren't on that initial memo. So there's never been sort of a formal notice that we would have a vote on them, but as I say, they were discussed, and we will take a vote on whether we should have a vote on each of those items before we do that. And then the third set of possible recommendations are items that we haven't discussed and but have occurred to me as things that we might want to include as recommendations. And if anybody has any other recommendations that they would like to see included in the report, that would be a good place to put them. Again, we will have a vote before we discuss those. Okay, any questions about that? That makes sense? So why don't we start then? Oh, we do have a question. Craig.
Before we get started, I don't know if it would be helpful to others, but Mr. Brewer representing the home builders and remodelers just sent a email and a statement. And I'm not clear exactly how that relates to the questions at hand. I get the point that they're trying to make, that so I don't know if that needs to be, if we should give a little window for the home builders to discuss in a little more detail how that relates to the questions we're going to be voting on.
I'd like to hear their.
Okay, and I actually haven't even looked at that email yet. So that
Home builder on the board here.
Jim Bradley.
Jim Bradley, yeah.
Okay. Jim, do you have any comment?
Yes, basically, in speaking with Andrew the other day, and this has been an ongoing discussion for the last several years, it's just seeing where the last couple of meetings have gone and everything else. It's just there's still this high level of frustration that we have, because with the hopes that we were going to get something really solid to have corrective actions in the state, it's just the fact that, you know, we're continuing down the same path, pushing off, really making some decisions that are going to be necessary to correct these items that we see that are in error. And it's not really going to be helpful to the consumer, and it's not going to help our entire industry the way that we had wanted to. And so I really, if you read what Andrew had written, I thought it codified really our mindset during this whole process for the last several years, and where we find ourselves looking at probably having to address this again in the future, all over again, and without having the success that we're hopeful for the industry. And so I think it's important to have that in the record. I think it's important for everyone to read that. And like I said, I think it codifies the very position of the home builders throughout this whole process.
Well, as I say, I'm just scanning this now. I haven't had a chance to read it closely. I hear your frustration. I share your frustration. We are in, as a legislator, one of the two legislators in this group, I will say that I'm trying to think of ways to move this whole effort forward in the context of what is legislatively and politically possible. But that doesn't need to be a constraint on the recommendations that the working group makes. the working group should make recommendations towards what it thinks is the best policy for the state, and even if that isn't the basis of a bill this year, I'm hoping that it will be the foundation of a future effort to adopt a residential building code and integrate energy codes into the whole construction industry in a much more holistic way than they are now. So,
and that has been our hope as well. It's just the reality has been that nobody wants to take responsibility for it. Nobody has the resources to do this. We're trying to say that we're all for consumer protection. We're trying to make housing affordable. And it just seems like those goals are, yeah, they're great, but can we achieve those with the current setup? And with nobody really stepping up to say, yes, we're going to do this, we're going to champion this cause, we'll take the responsibility for it. The resources aren't being allowed for that to happen. It's really an exercise in futility in some respects when you look at the damage that is being done, the risk that builders are continuing to be placed in for following a code without the proper underpinnings or scaffolding to support it. As we've said so many times, we can't build houses like this. We can't hope to build a house without a proper foundation. And without that being in place, it's just, I remember Mike DeRocher, was 3 years ago, said, I've been in so many of these study committees, and yeah, we'll see where this one goes. And I was like, geez, I hope we don't get there. And at some point at the end of this process, it feels like that's exactly where we are. And because a lot of people put in a lot of time and effort to see something more robust. And are we really serving the interest of Vermont consumers? Are we really, protecting the liability of builders? And I just don't see that we're there at this point in time. And everyone's spent a lot of time trying to get there. And that's what this whole thing that Andrew put into words for us really personifies and tries to encapsulate it so everyone can have a sober look at this.
Have a comment from Kelly?
Yeah, I just wanna, if this is going on the record, I wanna have just a really brief response that a disagreement with something that's in here is that it says no one is accountable for explaining or even answering basic questions on the energy codes. There's no oversight. That is just not correct. The department answers questions, interprets the code for people on a regular basis. There's also the Energy Code Assistance Center with a toll-free number housed at Efficiency Vermont that also provides technical assistance. So I take offense to that statement, and I do not believe that is true. Seth.
I mean, I'll acknowledge on the board, I think we need to be open, at least for the public comment. And also these are committee members that are voicing these opinions as well. I mean, well, Mr. Wabi's comments, what Andrew summarized in representation of AIA and BVRA as well, that these should be included in public record. I agree that maybe some level of discourse that could happen as far as the substantiation of, opinion within this. But the fact that these are representative opinions of the individual businesses and or parties that are represented in these trade organizations, it does need to be a part of the public comment and inclusion into the consideration of the committee, in my opinion.
And should be in the report. And that sounds fine to me. If there are additional sort of discrete recommendations that members would like to have included in a report, we could include those in the last set of recommendations that we vote on. So between now and then, if you want to see if you can craft something that we could vote on, then we can include it there. Tom?
Yeah, in responding to the questionnaire that was sent out, I added one at the bottom for AIA Vermont, which was asking for a definition of the authority having jurisdiction that is clear in both what the role is, but what the responsibilities of the authority having jurisdiction are. And we laid it out, so
yeah,
in our opinion, so that could be added to this group's voting.
Okay.
At the end.
All right, great. So why don't we proceed then? Hearing your frustration, Jim and Andrew, and acknowledging that and sharing it and to some extent. Anyway, why don't we proceed with going down this list and then deciding whether we're going to vote on additional recommendations. Okay, so we do that, and we can have some discussion around each one as necessary. So the first one is, excuse me, the authority having jurisdiction for energy codes for all buildings should be Division of Fire Safety, starting with public buildings currently under their jurisdiction and extending to single-family buildings upon adequate funding and resources and a phased timeline.
Ready for the vote?
Ready for the vote? Any comments that people want to make on these?
Do you want to comment
Yeah.
when we vote or? Would that
Need a
mean?
motion on the floor for discussion.
Okay.
Move that, make a motion.
Okay, so have some discussion. Let's not bog down in each one of these though, but because there is an opportunity for written comments that will be included in a report in the narrative section. But and we've already talked about this one as well at some length. So let's try not to go over, previously covered ground. But discussion.
I didn't hear a second.
I'll second.
Okay. Anybody have any discussion or comments on this proposal?
Sure, I'll start.
Peter.
So my concern with this particular language is upon adequate funding and resource, there's no, we haven't considered how we're going to fund something like this. And, we certainly haven't, we had some kind of numbers early in the committee meetings. But, nothing that really, would lead me to feel that this is going to do anything but increase the cost of housing in Vermont, which is a severe concern for us. Also, to put into place this automatically phasing in timeline when we don't know what it's going to cost, it just doesn't seem reasonable to me.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
It seems DFS has been clear they lack capacity to enforce expanded energy code.
Okay, any other comments? Go ahead and vote.
Okay, Scott Campbell.
Oh, I'll vote last as chair.
Oh, as chair, okay. Seth, do you wanna vote next?
I'll vote. I mean, if we're talking about the direction in which we should be headed over time, and I take that's kind of what this means on that level, I'll vote yes.
Okay, yes. Kelly Lander, no. Mike DeRosa? No. Steve Spatz?
EBT's going to abstain on that one.
Okay, Chris Burns?
No.
Tim Karen and is not here from VGS and they didn't have any designee to send, so they are absent. Tom?
Yes, over time, that is the direction we would like to see.
Jim Bradley?
We vote yes.
Richard?
No.
Ted?
The league abstains.
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry. Was that-
Sorry, yeah, the league abstains.
Oh, abstains, thank you. Anne, for Chris Campini.
Yeah, Bapta votes yes.
Okay, Craig Peltier,
Yes.
Jen,
Abstain.
and Peter.
Voted no.
No. Okay. Now it's Scott.
I'll vote yes.
Yes, okay. All right. Do you have a tally, Keith?
I do. 6 yes votes out of 11 votes cast, which is pass, as far as I can tell.
Okay.
Next item is the energy efficiency. Oh gosh, this is awfully small. No. get it up for the next one. Energy efficiency utilities, unique energy program expertise should support code compliance and authority having jurisdiction implementation through, for example, through municipalities and DFS with staffing and technical consulting, perhaps modeled after the State Energy Management Program, which is a program, as I think I explained before, that's been around for several years, where Efficiency Vermont embeds staff with buildings and general services for provide an energy consulting lens to projects that the state BGS is involved in. And that program was extended a couple of years ago to municipalities as well. So any comments or thoughts on this possible recommendation?
Motion first, right? Don't we need a motion for discussion?
Well, okay, well, I don't know that we do. We can discuss it as we're bringing each of these up. We can have a discussion.
I thought you needed a motion for discussion to start.
Can I move that we discuss all these items?
Yeah, let's do that.
Unless you're voting on them as a whole.
Oh, okay.
Each one needs an individual.
Okay, well,
okay.
This is,
moving. I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay,
Just like.
I see Craig's hand. Craig?
Again, as I said before, I'm over the long term. If we're going to solve this problem, I think it's a great opportunity. I'm strong to utilize EVT's expertise in this area more broadly, particularly given the nature of the way they're configured today and how that needs to change as we get to a better code, as I've said to all of you many times. So I think this is a way to solve a lot of problems for us as far as staffing and expertise as we think about big picture and restructuring how we do this kind of work and enforce it. So I'm strongly in support of this.
Okay, great. Any other thoughts?
Richard Wabi, I would like to point out that this just risks blurring the regulatory roles that are assumed by different parties and increasing the complexity and costs, and lacks clear oversight for the EEO involvement in code enforcement.
Well, I think the thrust of this recommendation is not that EEUs would be involved in code enforcement, but rather in assisting with staffing and technical consulting. That, at least that's the intent, as I was trying to craft a very succinct version of this.
You point out in it that they should support code compliance. Compliance requires enforcement of some sort.
Well.
No.
Okay. Enforcement is certainly one of the pathways to compliance, and it is probably the most effective pathway to compliance. However, we're not talking about enforcement because that is not an option, at least.
I'm not seeing that word used here.
Yeah. So, but anyway, okay. Peter, thoughts?
You know, I think that our position on this entire, concept is really that builder education should be the first step.
Yeah.
And to that, you've got to educate and hopefully, can build a lot of compliance and by doing that. The concern I have with this particular statement is that it refers to authority having jurisdiction and Department of Fire Safety. So because I voted no on number one, I don't feel like I can support this particular comment either.
Kelly?
Department of Public Service feels the same. We don't have a problem. We think it's a great idea for the EEUs to be involved in supporting code compliance, but same with what Peter said, we voted no on the AHJ, so we would vote no on this.
If there was no reference to DFS, would that make a difference to others?
It's the AHJ, recommendation, so. And we already have previous recommendations that talk about the EEUs supporting code compliance, so I don't know that just having that alone is a meaningful additional recommendation from previous recommendations.
Question related to that. None of what we're doing here is overriding previous, and there's a question. None of what we're doing here is overriding previous recommendations. Is that? the way that's what I.
From iterations of this group?
Yes.
That's a good question.
I think it was in direct, like if no was, if there was a no vote on the first one, which has been recommended in the past two, I don't know that you would say you'd override it. We would just say that that did not pass this time, so I don't know that makes, we're not gonna go back and scrub it out of the previous two reports. Those stand alone.
Right. But this is a 2-year committee, so.
3-year.
Or, well. Or 4. depending on how- Anyway, yeah, this will be a separate report, but I mean, the other reports exist, right? So. I guess what I'm hearing, though, and Kelly's comment is that Public Service Department would not support an AHJ. That's correct. Okay. Any other comments?
Scott, this is Ted Brady. I too am a little confused by this one in that SEMP being a program that provides technical assistance to municipalities to help them do some energy efficiency work and help the state do energy efficiency work, whereas the support of code compliance does feel like, though it does not say so, that it puts the EEUs in a role that it could potentially be misunderstood to be in between or in addition to the jurisdiction that has authority over regulating the code. Is there somewhere that this has been talked about in more detail aside from the language here?
Well, we talked about this at the last meeting. And maybe I would see if either of the EEUs or who are here would want to talk about it, Steve or Chris.
Chris, do you want to add anything, or I'll speak?
Feel free, Steve. Thanks.
Okay. Efficiency Vermont has consistently had a role in administering education, outreach, support, technical assistance of code compliance. I don't even know how far this goes back, but it's been kind of just standard practice for many years. As long as I've been here 10 years, this is what I've been doing as part of my work here for 10 years. So we already have that role in being very much publicly facing and available for code support, technical support, in interacting with Keith and with Barry and with Kelly as well, as far as interpretation goes. So that has been I'll call it the historical role of the EEU involvement in the application of code in the marketplace. I think some of what Andrew covered in his letter contributes to some of this, conversation as well too, which maybe some can reference as well. But yeah, without there being any AHJ, this has been a role that the EEUs have played in how the code is actually impacting the construction industry and put into practice around the state, both for commercial and residential. I'll just add that.
And have you or others at Efficiency Vermont felt put in an awkward position about as far as being seen as enforcers of the code or the code police or anything? You have.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's it's a key element of any outreach and training and education that I put out there into the marketplace. I have a unique slide, I'll call it, in my training content that defines what our role is of not enforcement, because that mechanism does not exist. But we're here to support, educate, be out in the field, interact with the construction community to understand how and why the codes exist, how to put them into practice, the process for compliance, filling out code certificates, all of that work. But definitely, I mean, it's a gray area for the building owner, consumer, and for the contractor base of this place of enforcement, oversight, jurisdiction. You know,
Well, maybe I should.
what's the bottom line?
Well, maybe I should rephrase that. Have you found that contractors or others out in the field have avoided your advice and consulting for fear of enforcement?
That evolves over time. I think that was probably a larger factor in the past than maybe it is this day. So I do still think that, you know, we only have so much reach, and the reach that we have in outreach and support is voluntary from the construction community. And there are definitely still pockets and areas and, you know, conversations had for whether or not it's to a builder's benefit to reach out to the EUs for code support, what that might mean. Again, we're not going to, you know, put them in any position of fault for something that we interact with them on, but I feel it's part of our mission too. I mean, to me, it's been a personal mission of trying to be as proactively much proactive effort as possible, come forth as being there for support, not for enforcement, and reiterating the mechanism for how this code is employed in Vermont.
Well, I see Jim and Richard, but I want to ask Chris Burns whether you have any comment first on what Steve has just said.
No, I think Steve's spot on. Burlington, as I've put in some of the comments over the time of this working group, we are a little different because we have a Department of Permanent Inspections, and they do play an enforcement role in terms of making sure that RBs and CBs are on all the permits and that they get a certificate to do the final CO. They do not try to get into the code books and figure out whether or not you complied or not, actually, but they do make sure you follow the process. So our EEU has them as playing that role. Our role is answering questions. If we get stuck, we reach out to the DPS, and we're out there trying to get people to go beyond code. So a little different flavor in Burlington because of our trades division.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Jim, go to you next, and then Richard.
Yes, I agree completely with what Steve is saying. The other thing that should be noted on the weatherization side of what they support for when you're doing work, you know, whether it's a ventilation question, whether it's following code and doing things appropriately, if you're going to get the incentive monies, you're going to have to do it to industry standards. You're going to have to perform the work to industry standards, and you're also going to have to make sure that health and safety measures are put in place. I mean, the protocol that you have to follow as an EE and contractor is a simple ask for in some respects, because you're not going to get the rebate monies for your clients, which are significant. That isn't the kind of the carrot, if you will, unless you follow the code parameters. And so that's a real big benefit and a system that is actually working. And it shouldn't be too much to ask in the same thing if we're looking to do this for some type of enforcement, whatever mechanism that is, to have the building industry follow suit.
Okay, Richard.
One more time, and you kind of just said it for me. Thank you. The minute you use the word compliance, the general contractor, the general public, and anybody out there believes that compliance is an enforcement mechanism that's sitting out there. So that's, again, just to reiterate, That's why I have concerns with this, as worded at this point in time. When you say compliance, there's an enforcement initiative in the back of my head.
There's a conflation between the terms.
Kind of.
Conflation between compliance.
Okay. Any other thoughts on this? Mike?
So I've been kind of quiet because for the past couple of years, I think folks have a pretty good idea of where fire safety lands on some of this stuff. And we try to stray away from the code enforcement perspective because it's not code enforcement. I'm going to give just a little spiel here. This is a whole code management is a better term that I would want to use. And I say that because everybody expects, just because you've stacked this whole profession up with regulation and mandates, that people are going to comply. That's just absolutely incorrect. You're going to have people that will not comply. You're going to have people that don't know how to do the work, and they're not going to comply that route. These authority having jurisdictions have to deal with all that regulatory code management fallout from all those things. You're also talking about how does this delay timeframes for permitting, right? How much more review time do you need for permitting? What are you going to do when you run into a 8-unit apartment building and some code enforcement authority says, oh, you got the wrong insulation value in your walls and the place has been sheetrocked? What are you going to do? Are you going to, who's going to manage the removal of sheetrock in 8 apartment units? Or are you going to set up a variance board so that you can grant variances? And then at that point, you're not even meeting the objective of providing more energy efficiency compliant structures. So I just want to put that out there because Landon here, as the deputy director, deals with a lot of these specific issues on the construction side. And I just want to raise that issue that, you know, on paper and in theory, when folks talk about compliance, there's a lot more to it. It is all the failures out there to comply, whether you want to or not. And so my pitch from the beginning, going back 3 years, has been, we have to have a trained and educated workforce to be able to go out there and build energy efficiency homes to increase the compliance rate, rather than stacking it with a bunch of regulations, authority, and now you add no funding. I mean, all these items you're talking about and voting on today all require a lot of money, and there isn't any funding. So I just wanted to vent that because I'm just.
It's going a little beyond the scope of this one particular recommendation. Right. That's fine.
It is, but so, and it's not that I don't care about energy efficiency, and it's not that I don't care about safe buildings. We are the safety advocacy agency in public safety, and we want safe buildings. We just think relying on the contractors, and we have great contractors now. I'm not demeaning contractors. We have great contractors. We have great professionals in the electrical, plumbing, all the fields. But I just want to voice that because when I sit here and say no on a particular item, I don't want it to come across like we don't care about safety or energy efficiency. We just think there's a different way of getting from A to Z. Thanks.
Two quick statements. One, I really appreciate that you expanded the scope of the AHJ authority definition. And I think that that's important to understand that it includes more than just administering a code, that it includes training, that it includes getting back to the question. I think Efficiency Vermont has done a phenomenal job at training and the work that they've done so far. And I read this question as, should they continue to do that? And I don't see how anyone else would.
Right, in support of whoever is administering the code.
If that were not in there, yeah.
Yeah.
And if I could comment that, you know, if on line 2, the language was struck up to the word with staffing, you know, I could support this. In other words, eliminating AHJ and DHG evidence. Yeah.
Oh, I see. So support co-compliance with staffing and tech consulting, yeah.
If that was a statement, I would support.
Okay. Well, that would be useful to have if you wanted to comment. I don't know whether you did. Okay.
So are you amending your motion?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. I mean,
Okay, yeah, well, I think we should vote on these as written, but I think it's, it would be great to have your comment in the comment box there, and we'll include that in the narrative, and
I think I've heard that comment from more than one
Yeah.
representative
yeah,
on the committee.
yeah. Well, and maybe we could add that at the end if we ever get to the end. All right, why don't we, any other comments? Can we take a vote?
Are you vote?
Yeah,
Okay, Seth,
Seth, you still here?
Oh, yeah, I'm there. Here, I'll vote yes. Again, thinking about it just directionally, not immediately, but so with that, I say yes.
okay, Kelly, no. Mike,
No.
Steve Spatz,
BT is abstaining on this one again as well.
okay, Chris Burns,
No, but please don't take it as we're not supportive of EEU help, because it's something we do today. It's just how it's written that we're concerned about.
yep. Tom,
Yes.
Jim Bradley,
Yes.
Richard,
No.
Ted,
No, with the asterisks, agree that it just needs to be rewritten to be reflective of the technical assistance nature of what they do.
okay, Anne,
Abstain.
Craig,
Yes.
Jen,
Abstain.
Peter,
Be no.
okay. Keith,
Oh, and now,
If
yes.
oh,
votes
Steph,
yes.
sorry. I keep forgetting because you're at the beginning of my list.
Could I ask for Tom Bursey to repeat your vote?
Yes.
Yes. And Ted Brady
Was
I
no,
guess
is a no.
so I think
Okay.
the no's have it.
In the future, if we can go in the order that we have it on the table,
That's
then
my
I won't
order.
miss anything.
That's my order. On
Oh.
the table, but
It
Scott
went right
asked
the
to not
first
go
time.
All right,
first. So the no's have it,
all right,
so that does not pass.
excuse me. Next. A task force of stakeholders, educators, and state officials should be set up for technical and logistical support for OPR's residential contractor registry. For example, a list of trade services, voluntary certifications, and credentialing entities. Again, this is a really compressed sentence, really compressed language to try to encompass what we've talked about before and the range of the conversation before. Anyone like to make comments on this? Rick?
I'll move the
Okay.
report.
Would you move that we take comments? Your comments? Anyone want to second that? Peter will second that. Are there any comments? Oh, I'm seeing Jennifer.
Hi, thank you. Jen Cullen from OPR. OPR's position with respect to the energy code is really that, yes, that's important future work, but at this point, the way, the challenges that we have with the residential contractor registry really need to be addressed before we build on that structure with certifications and kind of our building energy certification. So With this recommendation, the wording's a little bit challenging because it's very broad. So set up for technical and logistical support of our registry. I'm not really sure what that means, but OPR would be supportive of setting up a task force to figure out where we're going with this profession and do some strategic long-term planning so that we can address gaps in the current regulatory structure, provide more protection for consumers, and just get the foundation of the residential contractor registry in order before we move forward with building energy code compliance certifications on top of that. So if this recommendation is meant to encompass that type of work, OPR would be very supportive of this. So that's.
Well, I think that was in my mind when I was writing this, because I had received your memo from last week, I guess it was, or the week before perhaps, regarding the deficiencies or problems that you had identified with the registry as it is now. So yes, I was thinking that would be an important dimension of this task force. Does that help?
Thank you. Yep.
Any other comments?
Interpretation and intent are two different things. And as you may interpret something, may not be the interpretation that's on the ground out there, which was the reason I was concerned about this and voiced my opinion. Because I feel as it reads now, you're creating another level of bureaucracy and duplicates what's actually out there. I also believe for OPR to be successful, the task force has to include industry and not just policymakers.
Oh, well, the task force isn't defined here, but yes.
So that's part of my concern.
I did actually develop a list of organizations that would be part of the task force. You weren't here last 2 weeks ago, were you?
I think I was online, but I did reference all the notes from it, and I did a larger review that I sent to everybody that I would like included in your end product.
No, but I think that I ran through the list of entities. I'm not sure that I did. I think I did. Entities that I imagined would be part of such a task force, and it would include stakeholders, industry.
Once again, interpretation and intent are two different things.
Okay.
Peter's got a comment.
Yeah, go ahead, Peter.
Yes. Peter Tucker with the Association of Realtors. So, for me, this is starting to go down the direction of contractor education and, certification and credentialing. So, that is something that we really feel it should be the result of this report, and can support it.
Okay, great. Any other thoughts on this? All right, hearing none, we're ready for a vote, Kelly.
Okay, do you still want me to skip you first?
I'll vote yes.
Okay. Yes.
Make it easier on me.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Seth?
Yes.
Ellie? Yes. Mike?
No.
Steve Specs?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes, as it was discussed. Yes.
Jim Bradley?
BVRA is voting no, but only because of the fact that we were wanting this to all be housed under an authority having jurisdiction instead of being a fragmented multifaceted type of thing, and it'd be all together in one house.
Richard,
No.
Ted,
Abstain.
Anne,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Peter.
Yes.
Yeses have it.
All right, next. Speaking of funding. A portion, and I included parenthetically here, approximately $400,000, which is just a placeholder, just an idea, and I haven't done a budget for how much this suggestion would cost, but a portion, about $400,000 of accumulated RGGI receipts in TEPF, the Thermal Energy and Process Fuels Fund, which funds thermal efficiency work and thermal incentives in low and moderate income. And that accumulated receipts is around $10 million, a little bit less. A portion should be used to support energy code compliance, even if no energy savings is attributed. And as examples of what efforts could be included in support of energy code compliance, staff and technical consulting, contractor registry website, and marketing. Does everyone understand the compressed language here, what the idea is? Any questions about that? Right? Would anyone like to have a conversation about that? Some comments? Richard?
Yes. Move to discuss.
Okay. Jennifer moves to discuss. Peter seconds.
It's always good.
Any discussion? Jen?
Yes, thank you. My biggest problem with the way this is crafted is the examples that it gives. And again, the contractor registry website and marketing. We don't support these funds going towards OPR's website. So if that is what this language is meant to give as an example, we would not support this.
In your memo that you sent to me, you suggested, I thought, that OPR could be supportive of some other entity setting up a registry website.
That's right.
Yeah.
And be happy to share data and set up some sort of IT data sharing solution there. But so that's
So if this said contractor registry third party website, would that
yes, that would be much more palatable.
Okay. Well, I didn't specify, partly because I was trying to keep this very succinct. I didn't specify where the website would be housed, whether it would be at OPR or at some third party entity, but just that the website would be improved in some way so that it was more user friendly and accessible to the public.
The OPR would support that with that caveat, would support this recommendation.
Maybe I should have given myself 4 lines instead of 3 lines. Richard.
We do support efforts to improve contractor engagement and public awareness of energy codes. But our concern is really that the EUs are funded and regulated to deliver measurable energy savings.
Right.
And not marketing tools. And there is a clear lack of oversight and evaluation metrics based on what this extra spending would deliver in the end. So we will be voting no.
Any other thoughts?
I'll just add that I think that there's a clear record of accountability for what has been delivered. Code support and those efforts over the years as part of our reporting and agreement and work with Department of Public Service for what work already has been done in support of code. Code at, just base level code support and the ECAC work, the contractual terms that are there between EBT and Department of Public Service annually for that work, which is a separate line item outside of our savings attributed work that we do. So there's at least a history of effort and costs associated with the level of code support that's been provided to date, which could be used then as a model to build upon any further work.
I'm not questioning your work. I'm not questioning the way you do your work or how well you do it. I'm questioning a single line in here that says, even if no energy savings is attributed.
Right.
Okay.
Which,
Not
correct me if I'm
questioning.
wrong, but our
That's clear,
ECAC contract work is not attributed, there's not a savings metric attributed to that already. That's a fixed contract term of annual level of allocated funding and support meant to go to the REEU to support code level compliance, support, education, outreach, et cetera. So there's already a mechanism in place that, and annual reporting on that for what's been delivered, as far as non-savings attributed work and level of code support. So there's something, I'm just saying there's something to build upon.
Sure.
If this were to be something that was pursued for the long haul.
Yeah, and the distinction being drawn here is between work that is a resource acquisition or a savings, has a savings attribution, for which there's a clear sort of set of metrics set up, and work that would be in support of code compliance, which is being proposed here as something that would be outside of that resource acquisition metric system. And it would be, I think it's implied that of course the money, there would be accountability with those expenses, just as there is with all expenses. So, Kelly?
Quick comment though, in lines with what Richard said. I mean, the existing dollar amount is nowhere near this dollar amount that's being proposed. And as the department said at the last meeting, we don't think this is the highest and best use of TPF funds that it's used for weatherization. So.
Okay. Other comments, Peter?
Yep, thank you, Peter, with the Realtors. So I think the things in parentheses are the things that bother me. The dollar amounts, to say, hey, we should, use a portion, that's great, but to define it, put a dollar figure on it is challenging. And then at the bottom, staff and tech work, contractor registry, website marketing, that's a concern we heard from OPR. So, with the removal of those three parenthesis items, we're supportive.
Okay. Include that in your comment on this particular, that would be great. Steve?
I'll just add one last comment towards this, that I think the demand for this level of support exceeds the capacity for what we've already been operating in as far as what we deliver in support.
In terms of resources, you have dollar and staff resources?
It is a very carefully managed resource acquisition budget on an annual basis for what we deliver for ECAC support, which versus what the actual demand is. I think that's there. And so we've had the benefit of some funding that was made available through partnership with DFG, the DOE grant that was focused on code level support. That we're able to increase those services over the last 18 months up until June of this past year when the last reporting period ended. So I'm just acknowledging that the fact that I think there is an appetite for continued and more code level support from the market, from the builders, from professionals in this place. than how we've been currently resourcing it.
Okay. So additional funding would help you meet that demand that is not being met now.
That's a bigger, longer term conversation.
Yeah.
In question, right? Who should be delivering this, how that should be funded, where those funds should come from,
Right.
how it's accounted for, et cetera. I'm just acknowledging the fact that there is a
demand is exceeding your ability to meet it right now, is what I'm taking from your comment. Is that, okay? Any other comments? All right. Guess we'll vote. Kelly, go ahead.
Okay, Scott,
I will vote yes.
Seth,
I will vote yes as well.
Ellie, no, Mike,
No.
Steve,
same.
Chris,
Abstain.
Tom,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Richard,
No.
Ted,
Abstain.
Anne,
Abstain.
Craig,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Peter.
Yes.
Yeses have it.
It was a close second.
Oh, maybe a win.
All right. Next, this is 1E for those of you following on your scorecard. Future code updates, I guess it should say, should consider requiring ventilation system testing and balancing and commissioning to ensure compliance with applicable standards. And also should consider, future code updates should also consider whether to add third-party attestation to RBs and CB certificates. So again, abbreviated language, does everybody understand this? Future code updates should consider requiring ventilation system testing, balancing, commissioning to ensure compliance with applicable standards. And code updates should consider whether to add third-party attestation to RBs and CB certificates.
Move to discuss.
Move to discuss from Peter. Second? Second from Tom. Any discussion? Jim Bradley.
Yes, I would say this, VBRA is going to be voting yes on this because it's a simple ask in our opinion. And it's akin to the fact that before a builder could just say, yeah, it's airtight enough without any blower door testing being required. And just same thing with this very important indoor air quality aspect of balanced ventilation. It can be inside the house, but if it's not set up appropriately, it can cause some real problems with the house, especially if you have more exhaust than supply. And it puts the house in a negative situation, or if you put it in a pressurized situation with too much supply. So it needs to be balanced if it's going to be required. And so just like blower door testing, to verify that you're actually hitting your marks, we think that this is important to consider as well.
Any other comments? Steve?
Jim kind of already stepped ahead of some of my opinion on this too. I mean, there hasn't been any real pushback to testing verification for air tightness over the past 2 code cycles for ACH. And this is a matter that is, to me, of huge importance because by default, no matter whether we're requiring quote unquote testing and verification of air tightness limits for the building envelope, buildings are getting tighter. And the consequences are for not just indoor air quality for the occupants, but for the long-term durability of the building and the building assemblies. This is the biggest thing that I advocate in training that I do is just an understanding and awareness of the interaction of systems and how what we need to stay ahead of now that building standards and practices are commonplace. So this is one of these things that it's not even an additional barrier for compliance necessarily that we're talking about here. It's just an expectation of accountability from the trades that they should be acknowledging this and looking for this as a part of their work. Like the idea of, verifying that you have not just a system that's operating in the building that works on paper, but that it actually works in practice. You know, same thing when it comes to mechanical equipment too, like, you know, you need to be checking for combustion tuning and safety and spillage. And this is a part of that equation. This is a fundamental, elemental health and safety matters for the building and for the occupants. And this is really only calling out the fact that this should be just a standard of practice for the industry in general. So, you know, there's a reason and rationale why this is coming into conversation, I think, at this point.
Okay.
Regardless of which code we're going to comply with too. You know, we're talking about that impact here now too.
Right.
This is a matter of importance based on 2020 code, the 2024 code, or whatever code comes thereafter.
Okay, great. I think Kelly was next.
Yeah, the department had suggested modifying this at the last meeting to say it would be considered in the future code update, and we're comfortable with that. I think that's the appropriate place where we have an advisory committee of builders and people who have technical expertise to go through the pros and cons of this. So it's not a yes, we will do it. It's a consideration. I think that's appropriate.
Okay, great.
I just wanted to point out, absolutely, that there should be a ventilation system testing, balancing, all of that. I would like to also note that, the third-party attestation, the testing of third party wouldn't be necessary if there were an AHJ in place.
I'll second that as well too.
Would not be necessary if there were an authority having jurisdiction over the energy code, which we would much prefer. We will be voting yes for this because it's so important.
Landon.
I just want to follow up with that. As the authority having jurisdiction, we require third parties to complete those tasks. And that documentation gets provided and proven to us or it's witnessed. Those things would still have to happen. So that is why this statement, the way that it's written, is still too unclear for me in that regard. And who would complete that is still too unclear in regards to that statement.
Sandy?
Maybe this is just tying together what a couple people have said, which is assuming that profession of the installer is a licensed or certified profession already, they should be able to just provide proof that they finished the test. I don't know that they need a third party, although Landon can clarify why it needs to be a third party. I think in other states, for residential work, it can be self-certified certified, but I'm not sure of that.
Yeah, so that's a great way to present it. No one knows what the acceptable realm of the trained individual to complete that task is. That hasn't been set forth in any of the discussions that we've had today or the meetings that I've had before that. So I'm going to give a real quick example. If we had a certified and qualified person that had these proof of training and records, that is one end of the spectrum. A person that can sign a document is the other end of the spectrum. So that's a pretty wide gap, right? It's typically, and I'm gonna agree with Kelly's position, it's something that is evaluated to come up to say, this is a reasonable level of expectation of education for somebody that I'm going to accept this proof from. That is my position.
Okay, Steve?
I'll just I want to clarify between what Tom said and now what Sandy had said, and backing by Landon as well. What it really comes down to is commissioning of the system installed. You know, manufacturers will not warranty equipment if it hasn't been commissioned to their standards of practice for how the equipment's supposed to be operated. And therefore, there's a process and procedure that is industry recognized for how you commission the equipment's working appropriately.
And document it.
And document, and there's a format, there's literally, they give you a sheet in the installation manual of follow these procedures and write down your results. Send us this, that verifies that the equipment is set up and operating properly. I'm just gonna say that that's really what I see as the need here in this place, is that this is not a complicated procedure to verify that you're getting actual flows out of the different ports within that ventilation system within the building. It takes literally, if you set up and you've done your ductwork right, and you followed industry standards for designing the flows and everything, it should take you no more than an hour. Probably even less to go around the entire building, put up your flow meter, verify that you have X number of CFM as designed, and if not, dial the thing, twist it a little bit to adjust the flow, and then write those results down on a piece of paper that then accompanies the code certificate. That's as simple as it needs to be. It's all it should be, especially residential construction. So without complicating the matter, I think what we're getting at is that there's a need for this to be understood as important and be a part of what we're looking for in documentation.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of these details are important and would be part of the discussion in future code updates, which is why this is sort of put into the future as something that would be part of discussions at that time. Richard, do you have a comment? Or?
Yeah, so my concern was kind of on your lines, but my concern really had to do with the third party oversight without clear benefits is just gonna add cost to this whole thing.
I'll agree with you on that.
And as long as we reference within this third party oversight, I step back and say no.
Any other comments?
Sorry, just more of a question, I guess. Listening as we've been discussing, code adoption, whether it's the International Building Code or the RVs and CVs, I think the Department of Fire Safety has said, look, whenever we adopt a code, we have to go through it, kind of page by page and determine, how it's going to work in Vermont and that sort of thing. Are we just adding something, without consideration of, kind of how it should be adopted? And I don't know if you guys had any comments, towards that, but I mean, is this enough descriptive enough to add that to the code?
I think that your comment directly reflects my comment and statement that there's not enough there for me to be comfortable with the way that that's written. If I was getting a vote.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing that this is probably something that's super important, but it just feels like, we may be saying, hey, we need to adopt this without really knowing what that full impact is.
So that's what it says, future code updates should consider. It's about discussing it and bringing it into the
Considering,
conversation, not.
So I'm reading it as well.
Yeah.
It's really, I think the intent here, and what I tried to say in words is that it is an important enough concept that it needs to be part of future code updates.
And just to be clear, we're voting, sorry. We're voting on what is included in recommendations.
Yes.
So we're not actually putting anything out there as a requirement at this point.
Right.
These are recommendations to be considered in the future.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And just, I guess it could become enforced by legislation, because this is going to the legislature. If they say you must do this, then it would be required.
Yeah, well, that's another chance for public comment at that point.
We'll be there.
I see Senator Bongartz.
Just a thought on this one. I share the concern about, adding cost. And what, I have no idea whether third-party attestation is necessary or whether it can be done by the contractor. So if we wanted to make it just a little bit less directional, we could say at the end whether third-party attestation, blah, 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 is or is not necessary. Then it really is saying we don't know, but it's something we should look at. I realize the way it's written does say that, but I can sense the hesitancy on a few people that it sounds a little bit too directional. And if we just change the wording slightly, it would be a little bit more neutral, but say, take a look at it.
Suppose we added the word consider, which I
It's
think
there.
is implied,
Yeah.
well, after the and in the
Okay.
third line. So should consider requiring testing, balancing, and consider whether to add third-party attestation.
We haven't been able to amend or change anything else.
No, I'm not saying that we were to change this wording here. I'm just saying that if it said that, would that satisfy concerns of some folks? Because I that is the sort of technically, sentence, diagramming, in that, in
I
that
would say
area.
that's the intent
That's the
of
intent of the sentence, yes.
the sentence, but I understand it would make it even more clear, but
Yeah.
you should consider at the beginning,
Yeah.
I think it applies to you.
That's,
Yeah,
yes,
but-
if I'm diagramming a sentence, that's how, but anyway. Well, I think we should go on here, so, have we beat this to death?
Yeah, are we voting on the language as is? Is that what
Yes,
you want
yes,
to do?
we're not
Okay.
changing, we haven't changed any of the other language,
Okay.
as Richard points out.
Okay, so we're ready to vote?
Yes,
Okay, Scott,
yes,
Seth,
Yes, we're emphasizing that word consider, yeah.
Kelly, yes, Mike,
Yes.
Brett, or Steve, sorry.
Yes, with the whether to add third-party attestation as a factor.
Chris,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Richard,
Stick with my no.
Ted,
Staying.
Anne,
Abstain.
Craig,
Yes.
Jen,
Abstain.
Peter.
Yes.
All right, the guests have it.
hey. It is getting easier. 1F. The energy module, as it is called, currently required for certain DFS trades and OPR professions, should be updated to focus on energy code requirements relevant to those trades and professions, rather than statute language. As we've discussed in the past, this energy module as it is now is, I think I could say simply a review of statute language and a list of resources that a person taking this energy module could access if they were interested in following it up further. But it doesn't, the energy module currently doesn't provide information that would be sort of relevant to the work that they actually do on site. So,
I'll move the question.
Richard would like to have a discussion about this. Anyone second that?
Second.
Second from Peter. I see Jennifer's hand is up. Jen?
Thanks. I just have a concern with the idea that it says it should be updated, but doesn't say who would be responsible for that. And it, if we don't know who can do this in these different trades and professions, and who has the funding and the ability to make these kind of trade or profession specific, that's a concern.
Right. Mike?
This is very vague, and I was part of the design of the first energy efficiency module. In fact, it impacted thousands of our trade professionals. We had minimal time to incorporate that into our licensing and certification programs. Therefore, that's how broad that module was when it came out of the gate, right? We had minimal weeks. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to license folks and renew their licenses. I do agree that it doesn't identify who can do this. The statute is written right now. I think there's 3 different agencies that have to coordinate together to make this. I support this being redone because this broad module serves no purpose. It's had a maximum 2-hour length, I think, when it first came out of the legislature. And we didn't want to we couldn't figure out how we were gonna put it into all the continuing ed requirements for several thousand trade professionals. So we were forced to make it into just a few slides so that all our continuing ed providers could add that to their curriculum without adding hours. So it was a pretty tricky maneuver to get this out of the gate, but I would be in support of making that a more useful educational tool as to contractors.
Okay, great.
Just to add what Mike said, the department is named in the legislation as well.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
given that it said energy codes, I understand what Jennifer's saying, but my assumption was just that it would be the department helping to put something together on energy codes, so. But I understand it doesn't specify that.
I should have given myself 4 lines. Steve.
Okay, I'll just comment that I think this is it's a big opportunity, because the majority of the audience that we reach in code support training and outreach is really builders and architects, and getting into the licensed trades and the specific sub trades that are, fall under the code. I would much rather be able to have curriculum that we can contribute to and develop that then goes to the direct trades that we want to have this information in the hands of, rather than whom we reach as architects, builders. We're giving them info, which then they need to trickle down to their subcontractors, which maybe get lost in translation somewhere along the way. So 100%, I think it's a great opportunity for more holistic, just getting everyone on the same page, level of outreach and technical support. So.
Okay. Great. Any other comments? Seeing none, I think we can vote.
Okay, ready for the vote? Scott,
Yes.
Seth,
Yes.
Kelly, yes. Mike,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Tom,
Abstain?
Jim,
Yes.
Richard,
Yeah.
Ted,
Abstain.
Anne,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Jen,
I'm gonna say yes in light of the discussion that was just had. Thank you.
Peter.
Yes.
All right, the yeses have it.
I'll vote too.
Yeah.
Oh,
We forgot Steve.
Oh, that's so weird. Oh, somehow, sorry, I'm really sorry. It froze
Okay.
and shifted over.
It won't have any
apologize.
effect anyway.
I'm
that?
sorry.
It won't have any
Steve,
effect. at
Steve,
this-
sorry.
I'll just put it on the record as yes.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
It's a problem.
Things got frozen.
All right.
Right there.
Oh,
That's weird. Sorry about that. Anyway.
all right, excellent. 1G, Mike left just at the right time. This is all about DFS.
Are we having a break at?
Well, should we take a break right now? Maybe we'll take a break right
Love
now.
that. I'm.
Okay, we'll take a break right now.